in kind of misconceptions and kind of ideas to help us as recruiters in terms of marketing move forward and kind of start our journey with SEO. Okay, so I'm sure most people know me now, but those who don't, I'm Katie. I'm a fractional marketing director for recruitment companies, and I work with lots of recruiters. I was going to say hundreds, but spoken to hundreds. Don't work with hundreds. Been in marketing though for over 20 years, and I've done everything from kind of like TV, commercial directing, right down to kind of like on the job, direct mail pieces. But my specialist area is around strategy and helping drive that forward to kind of achieve your marketing goals. And then, Aaron, would you like to just give a brief intro as to you?
So hi everyone, I'm Aaron. I've been working in marketing for the past couple of years, predominantly just in SEO, and that involves the whole like the on-site SEO, the off-site SEO, and everything from getting into changes on the website and that sort of thing for people. But yeah, my business partner basically taught me about SEO, what I know about it, and then from there I've just gone on to going from there, really starting into it, and it's become my career, and here I am after a couple of years of doing it.
Nice. And I think you and I were talking just before, and I want to kind of preface this webinar with, I think, a common misconception that people have around SEO in terms of like whose responsibility it is. And I hear this quite often from people, and they'll be asking the question, well, isn't our web design agency responsible for our SEO? And I think that is a common misconception, that people assume that the people that built your website or the people that kind of maintain it for you, let's say, will be responsible for SEO, and that will be part of that ongoing package. So I think it's important to just kind of put that out there, that I would say 70% of like web companies will help with that initial piece, won't they, in terms of kind of helping you get it right. But quite often the onus is still on the recruitment company to think about like what kind of page titles, meta titles and things that they want on that page, but they will give you kind of advice and guidance on this is what you need to kind of get you in a standing point, help Google find your new website, all of that kind of information. I'm just going to come out of that, sorry, I can stop sharing now. But in terms of kind of then actually coming up with a actionable strategy and developing that, it tends to be like a separate project that people will need to allow budget for, people need to allow time to kind of then develop that and move forwards. Is that's my kind of, is that the same for you?
Yeah, that's exactly right, Katie. So that the main bit that your like the web agency would do is the on-site SEO. So they might make sure you've got like a lot of the meta tags and stuff in there for you, or they've made sure like the website's optimized for mobile as well as for laptops and desktops and tablets and things. But the other half of SEO is like the off-site SEO, and that's the outreach and getting in touch with bloggers and stuff like that. But we'll go through that later on. But they do a lot of it for you, but it's an ongoing thing. It's not just a one little job and then it's done. It's continuous, unfortunately. So you do need to factor that in when you get the website.
And I think that is really important to say. It is, people, if you make that decision from like an SEO perspective to invest in that, it is an ongoing thing, because things change, people's preferences change on how they'll search for things, and so it's a constant evolving kind of beast, and it's really important to work in partnership with your SEO agency to kind of lean on them for kind of guidance and support as well, which it's a hard thing to do, isn't it, when you're given that kind of pot of money or funding. Okay, so let's strip it right back and go back to like SEO. So we're a recruitment agency looking to improve our SEO. What would you say would be the best place to start that's going to give us the best impact?
So what I normally like to explain to everyone is that SEO is a marathon, it's not a sprint. So unfortunately, it's not going to be a couple of weeks you're going to see some results. It's potentially 3, 4, up to 6 months, really, depending on how competitive the market is. So recruitment is quite competitive. A lot of websites have got recruitment agencies, and a lot of people have got like job boards and stuff like that. And you've got the Indeed and Read and all that sort of stuff. So
Yeah.
because of that, it's quite difficult to be ranking for these keywords. So yeah, it is. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon. So I like to let people know that's kind of what to expect. It's not going to be it's going to be a long job basically to get it started. It doesn't matter if you're spending about £400 a month or £40,000. It's not us that delays it by being lazy and not doing the work for you. It's Google themselves. It takes a while to pick you up. If you imagine you've just got a new website, you've just got everything on there, you've got your content written and everything, and it could take Google 2 to 3 months before they even find the website. And because of that, you're not going to rank for anything. So it's a long while. I know it sounds like you might be putting a lot of money into something and nothing happens for 6 months, but once you're there and the ball starts rolling, that's when you see the return from SEO basically. For it. But we like to make a plan for it. So the plan I would suggest would be doing the keyword research. So we go out and we find the keywords that are like job related terms. So say if you're hiring for IT roles, you look for what sort of keywords get a lot of searches a month on a month-to-month basis, or if you're specific in one niche, if that's what you do is just IT, we look at what are sort of the good job roles for that, the roles that you're obviously offering and you're hiring for, and try to tally them up for you. And as we said earlier about the web design agencies, it's a site audit. And what that does, that makes sure that everything's on site for the website. That will go through and see if it's all user friendly, if it's working on mobile as well as laptop and tablets and that sort of thing. And then the next step would be creating like good content for those pages. So if you wanted to IT support manager role, making sure we've got a nice bit of content on there, and on the website you've got the role mentioned quite a lot on there for you. Because if you've not got the role mentioned or a keyword you're trying to target, if that's not on the website, unfortunately Google won't really pick it up because it doesn't seem like you're ranking for it. And then once you've done all that, we have to start looking into building backlinks. And what they are basically is votes of confidence. So Google will see multiple blogs speaking about IT and how it helps, say like a support, if you're a support company or something, we'd ask if we can get a backlink on there, and that's just like a vote of confidence. So once Google sees all these websites talking about IT, your websites, like you're hiring for IT roles, and when Google sees that, they see it as a vote of confidence, and then because of that, it'll increase the rankings on there for you. And then once we've done that, we go through and check everything we've done at the start, the on-site and everything's still up to date. And once that's all done, that's kind of like we monitor the performance, how the website's going, any updates and changes that might break the website, and then go from there. Just continually try to improve what we've got, make it better, and increase the rankings really.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I find really interesting when we start to talk about this, and sorry, I'm going off piece slightly, but just on that keywords, because I think that's something, and we'll probably talk about it a bit more in depth, but that's something from a recruitment perspective. And you mentioned like we're up against like job boards, for instance. So it is definitely, you know, thinking outside the box. And Aaron and I have been working on a strategy for a client put together some ideas, and that's the thing that's really helped, is that I've kind of gone to Aaron and said, you know, this is who we want to target. These I think are some of like the keywords that I think they would be searching for. And then we'll then together work on this plan that kind of comes up and says like, or Aaron sent me back this list of like, this is what's being searched for. And then I'm kind of then putting that together with like, okay, well, we could build this piece of content and like that would help with this. And, you know, it is like with anything marketing, it's about plugging everything in together. And definitely from like a keyword perspective, like whilst a job role, if you're in like a really niche area, is a great idea. Realistically, like I don't think that, and you might disagree, but from a recruitment perspective, like I wouldn't say like a job role would be my ideal or my the what I would go for in terms of keywords, because obviously you're then going to be competing with job boards like Indeed, who have like all of Google behind them and all of the buying power that they use as well, haven't you? Okay, so on that, oh, sorry, one of the other things was just around like free SEO tools. So I know we spoke about this and you were saying that there's some that you would sort of, is there any that you would recommend that people could use to kind of give them like some idea of like these keywords or ways to find stuff like that?
So there is a lot of free SEO tools. There's quite a lot, to be fair. But what the thing is, they give you like 5 or 10% of what's actually needed. So they can do a site audit like we would do ourselves, but if it's someone that's just started their company, they don't really know much about SEO. If I give you a big list of all these things to do to fix your website and you have no clue what a meta tag is or what a site audit is or hyperlinks and internal linking, you're not going to know what to do with that information.
Yeah.
So they are free and you get all these information to you, but if you don't know how to fix it, that's what the hardest bit about is, and that's where we sort of come in to help it for you. So it's how you like a meta tag is something that you add to a picture to make sure people that can't disabilities and they can't see pictures, it would read it out to them,
Yeah.
so they know this is a website talking about IT jobs or something like that, as an example. It's just
Yeah.
little things like that you need to do. And also, as I said earlier, about them making sure it's friendly for mobiles, because a lot of the time, this time 10 years ago, is make sure it was all perfect for laptops. Everyone looks at stuff on their for job boards and everything on their laptops. For now, it's
Yeah.
changed. Everyone looks at jobs on their phone and they can apply and read and everything on their mobile. So you need to make sure it's perfect on laptop as well as mobiles now, and even tablets, just to make sure everyone can access the website. Because if they can't get on and something's broken, they just go off and they go to the next person, and you've lost that potential lead.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. But there is a lot of free stuff. There's some that you can use to check the keywords, but some of them alter the results unless you pay for the premium one. So they might tell you this keyword gives you 10,000 searches a month, but when you actually pay the subscription, you're looking, it'll be like 5,000. So then you're potentially targeting something that's not as great as you thought it was, and that would be why it's quite competitive and stuff like that. But there
Yeah.
is a lot, as I said earlier, but it's just depending on how much you get. If you want to invest properly, just pay for a decent tool that'll give you a site audit and even tell you how to do that if you know anything about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, there is a lot, and then you just need to look into what works and what doesn't, and potentially just
Yeah.
take a pinch of salt with everything that you see that's free out there.
The Google one, and I'm always a bit dubious with anything Google, because like with Facebook, anything that they give you for free, there's normally like a sale behind it.
Yeah,
LinkedIn is like a prime example of that. Like they take something away and then they're like, oh, you can still do it, but you've got to pay for it now. I always feel
yeah,
like Google's a little bit like, so like their keyword research tool, like I've
yeah,
used that before to help me kind of like as a place to start.
yeah,
But then it's all very quick. It's almost like on that same page, you can straight away, oh, if just click here and you can buy this ad.
yeah.
And so do you think that they are slightly weighted in favour of trying to?
I I couldn't say that they are or they're not, but it does seem like it's to purchase ads, like Google Ads straight away. You take a few clicks, you put your card details in, and there you go. You're ranking for these
Yeah,
keywords straight away. But I don't know if you, like myself, if you see Google Ads or sponsored posts, you kind of like scroll past it now because
yeah,
everyone's getting a bit more tech savvy. Everyone understands how it kind of works. And if I
yeah,
see an ad, I automatically don't trust it because I feel like someone's paying their way to get top.
yeah,
So why do you need to pay for it if you're working on your SEO and you're talking about it, like IT jobs or something like that, and
yeah,
you're ranking organically for it? I'd trust you more because you're not paying £20 a month or however much expensive it is at the minute
yeah,
to rank for this keyword. You've organically earned it, so I automatically trust you, if that makes sense. So,
yeah.
so
And I
Google
think
could be. Sorry, carry
I
on.
was going to just say that that's getting harder in itself as well, isn't it? Like, have you
Yeah,
noticed? Because, like, if you go on Google now, it used to be like the top two or three, didn't it?
yeah,
So you'd
yeah,
have like maybe one at the top and then some down the side. Whereas now it's almost like a good sort of almost half the page is like
yeah.
paid ads before you get to the natural search. So it makes that number of natural search
It's harder to find it.
shown even
Yeah,
smaller, doesn't it? So, you know, it's becoming, I would imagine, even more competitive when it comes to SEO and trying to kind of get on that front page, because that's the ultimate goal, I
yeah,
presume, for everybody, is that you want to be one of the first
yeah,
to do that. And we talked about the SEO audit.
yeah.
So if we hired an SEO consultant, what do you think would be their first steps? Can you talk us through kind of like what the journey would look like for us?
So as I said earlier, site audit goes through and it checks everything, like every single page, even like the contact us page or the FAQs or your blogs or anything like that, just to make sure nothing's broken. Because there's nothing worse if you click on a link and it says like 404 error, this link has been removed,
Yeah,
it's moved, or it's broken. So then straight away you're going to say, well, if they're not even looked after the website, I'm going to go to the next person because not everything's working on there for it. So that's the main problem. Make sure everything's working, make sure it's all nothing's broken, everything's all fixed. And the next step is going to the link. So say if you had a job post for an IT support manager, and then as we mentioned before about like an FAQ, like what can you expect from an IT manager role, you click on that link and you expect to go to an IT manager page. So if you click on that and you end up on something different, it will flag it up and say, right, they've got a hyperlink for this, but it's not going to the right place, something might be wrong here. But it just goes through and just checks. It's like an MOT basically, how I explain it.
Yeah.
Everything's right. You can have some stuff that's red, like the broken links and the broken pages. You have some stuff that are amber, like the meta tags aren't on there, and you can have like sort of yellow, like little warnings that it might be broken or the link goes to the wrong place, but it is still relevant to what you're linking to, but it could be improved sort of thing, and it would go through like that for you. And it would also check, as I said, about making sure it's fine on mobiles as well as laptops and well as like tablets and everything on there. Some stuff might not display properly on the laptop. Some stuff like open really wide and it looks perfect on a laptop. If you go on a mobile, it's too stretched out and it doesn't look properly. So it just goes through and just checks all of those really. But yeah, it's just it's like I said, it's like an MOT basically for your website, making sure everything's right, everything's working, and everything that's not working needs immediate attention. And the stuff that are not too bad, you can cover. You look through them like on week or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And then, like we talked about, the next step on from that, once you've had that kind of audit, and then you can start to talk about like what it is that you want to achieve and work with someone like you to kind of look at like, this is who we're trying to target. These are our customers. This is the problems that they face, or like the issues, pain points that would probably be search kind of terms, to put together a kind of plan and strategy behind that. And years ago, and this shows my age, Aaron, of when I worked for Volkswagen Group, we actually had Google come in and present to us about pay-per-click. It was before it kind of come out. See, that's what I mean. So and one of the things that they used to be big, worked in like web development years ago, and it was a really key topic around there was almost like an unwritten rule that you had to do some pay-per-click to help with your SEO. Is that still the case? Do you think it's a worthwhile investment? What's the kind of feel in the SEO world now?
So I think they definitely go hand in hand. They always go hand in hand. If you're doing a great like an SEO campaign, you'd consider using Google Ads for it. As I said before, though, the only issue is like when you do Google Ads, you're paying for it. So say if you're in a very competitive market, say that Reed have got a massive influx of IT support manager jobs. I keep picking on IT because that was
yeah, that's all right.
So say if there's about 20, 30 job boards that are working for these IT jobs, say if it's on for Microsoft or something, they could end up paying like 50, 60 pound a click. So if you can imagine if there's 100 people clicked on that, that's nearly how much? So 60 pound, and I said 100. That's not 60 pound. That's 6,000. So yeah, before you know it, you've racked up a bill of nearly 10,000 pound or something a month, and that's for one role. So if you've got 10, 15, 20 roles of this, and people are constantly clicking on them, you're paying quite a fair bit for it. So with SEO, you could be paying £400 a month or something or so, and after 6 months, you could be ranking on the first page for it. So you could be just underneath the people that are paying the sponsored ads. And with that, you're getting free clicks. You're not paying £60 a click. You could be getting it more organic. And as I said earlier, that people kind of see sponsored and see ad and kind of scroll past it and click on the next organic link. So you can consider it if you've just started and you need, like, it's dependent on what you want. If you want some quick wins, then PPC could be fine, depending on obviously what the market is. But if you want to look about long term and how it's going to work for the website, basically, you'd be thinking about doing SEO as well as PPC. But our goal really, if you wanted PPC as well as SEO, would make sure the budget would go on PPC first. Then after, like, say, month 3, 4, or 5, and you're seeing some sort of organic traction, we'd lower the budget for that and increase it on the SEO spend and look at the other the pages that you want to concentrate on, because that way you're saving money from the PPC, but spending it on SEO and organically getting the spend from £60 a click down to nothing, basically. So they are hand in hand. Obviously, I would advise SEO is better because obviously recently people, as I say, and they click on the organic ones. So you could be spending loads, and before you know it, your yearly budget's gone on one job that was really competitive, and it cost you so much to get a click on it, basically, if you know what I mean. But they work hand in hand. I wouldn't say that Google's wrong. They wouldn't offer it if it didn't work, but just be cautious. Depending on what niche you're in, it can be very expensive.
And I've heard some horror stories from people of, that putting your ad in, not using like that lifetime budget, which I think they changed after everybody complained so much, and all of them horror stories that went round. People are putting like a daily budget or whatever, or just an unlimited budget, and then they get like the bill comes out of there, because if you have to put your credit card or your debit card in, don't you? So they just get like a huge bill, and then they're like, where's this gone? can be a bit scary.
Yeah, if you don't put a budget or a daily budget on there, I know some people out there, it's bad to say, but they'd click on your link on purpose, knowing that you're constantly paying on all these clicks. So before you know it, you could be paying loads of money, and it's only been a weekend or something. Been some nightmare stories for that.
Yeah. Okay. I think my next question was around like competing with job boards. But I know that we have already sort of touched on that briefly. In terms of kind of like thinking about like the strategy of like what keywords you're going to be using and avoid, not depending on what industry, but in essence avoiding kind of like the obvious, i.e. things that Indeed or job boards would be using to obviously compete against them because of their budget wise, and it's probably not got that same, we don't have them budgets and we don't want to. So when we're thinking about kind of like alternative words, is there any kind of advice, or what would you kind of recommend how people start to think about that?
So as I mentioned to you before, Katie, when we first spoke about it, it'll be hard to rank. Say I'm going to do it again and pick IT manager roles because it's
Yes.
in my head and I can't stop saying it now.
Yeah, that's fine.
But if you wanted to rank for that, you've made a page, you've got some content written, you had it all, the job spec and everything on there. And as you can imagine, the job spec won't have like IT manager role on every single line and a lot of that keyword in there, if that makes sense. So we could get it all in there, get some perfect content written, get the page up, and then you hire for the role. And then normally people take the page down once the role's been gone. They're not going to have a roll up a page for a role that's obviously been taken down, been fulfilled for it. So what we spoke about is how we could look at talking about a page for IT support managers. So it could become like a hub of information and say like an IT manager could expect XYZ amount of experience before they can become one. What are the steps to become an IT manager? It could just make a page like an FAQ page, and it could just have information about IT manager roles as a whole. So then because of that, you can keep the page up. You could have like, it takes 5 years of being in a support role before you can think about becoming an IT manager. You can talk about how much the salary should be between 30 to 40k or something, depending on experience, blah, blah, blah. And then that way you've got a page talking about IT managers, and then at the bottom you could just have links to the job roles for that. So then this one page has had all the SEO in it. It'll consistently rank for IT support manager roles, and then no matter how many roles you've got or you haven't got, you've got that page that can rank for it. So you won't be spending lots of money to get yourself up there for one job role like Reed or whatever, or Indeed would have. You can just have a page like a hub of information, or an FAQ page for IT support managers, and constantly just have that page on there, and then you can have lots of links of different roles on there. Or if you wanted someone like an IT service desk or something, or a help desk, you could have, you might need 1 to 2 years of experience as a help desk before you become an IT manager, and then you're ranking for IT support manager, but then you can link to other jobs for that. So use the work you've done on it one page to link to lots of different stuff, if that makes sense. So you're not spending lots of money on making one page, you fulfill the role and then it's gone. You've kind of got a hub and you can use it for hopefully months or years to come of them.
And I think that goes back as well, like I know you've spoke about it and I talk about it quite a lot about like having long-term strategy in mind, and certainly when people are having these websites built, that's one of the things that I always stress to everybody. You need to consider things like building additional landing pages, because quite often I'll find that they've built a templated site that you can't build these landing pages easily. So you need an easy landing page builder to build exactly that, so you can easily build this IT hub landing page or whatever the kind of content is on there, and start to build from that, to really kind of help with your SEO and help kind of bring longevity to the website and give people a different route in as well, because you can index all different pages on your website, can't you? So on the like your Google listings, and that's something that we actually haven't talked about. And I don't know, am I right to ask now? Sorry. But in your Google business listings, obviously that will contribute to your SEO. So that again is something that a lot of people kind of forget, that you can update that. You can kind of add photos, you can add descriptions, you can add services and things onto that.
Yeah.
and like that all links through to your website, and you can have different pages of your website linked within that itself, can't you too?
Yeah.
So is that something that you would be part of your SEO audit, or is that something that like would fall additionally?
So that wouldn't be part of the site audit. A site audit's normally just a website, but then from the next steps from there, say we've built a website with you, I've made a 6-month plan with you, and I say, Katie, we're going to do this page, we're going to do this page, we're going to do this page. And then from there, I can say we can look at the Google My Business. And I don't know if you're like myself, when you go on to look at a business and you see their Google reviews, if you see 1 star, you're thinking, oh, I'm not going to go ahead with them. Even though they're first on Google, they've only got 1 star. So I'm going to go to the next one with maybe 5 stars or something. So what you can do, like you said, on Google My Business, you can do like little blog posts. So you can just say, look, hi, everyone, we're hiring for this role, blah, blah, blah. And it goes to that role on there. And depending on obviously how well the website's ranking anyway, you could constantly see, people could see the roles that you've got going just from the Google My Business, and you've not done much effort into it. You can just copy and paste what you've got on the page already and just put it into there, and it's just another, and you can link back to your website, and that can count as a backlink on there for you. So it all helps, it all ties in together, and it's just
I didn't know it counted as
thinking
a
outside the box.
backlink. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I really like the Google. I think if I'm Googling something and you've got like the paid ads and the company that I want to see doesn't come up, if it comes up on like the maps and things, that's almost like
Yeah,
the most trusted, isn't it? That you think, oh, okay, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So I do really like that. So in terms of content strategy, in your experience, what kind of SEO content creative strategy would be most effective for a recruitment website?
So as I said earlier, I wouldn't advise making a very detailed SEO page per job role, because obviously it would be lost once you fulfill that role, unless you've got
Yeah,
a constant amount of any roles you go for. But if you do that could be enough, a way that you can work. You just constantly have IT support manager roles. I've done it again, and just constantly have them roles on there, constantly one after the other. But if you do like
everybody's going to
multiple,
think, Aaron, that me and you have been working on an IT management role, content strategy
I will
together.
I might change it, but it just, I think it's just in my head, and if I think of another role, I'll have to
That's all
totally
right.
answer. But yeah, if that's all you do, then potentially it could be a plan that you can do that and just constantly
Yeah,
just change the link for the role afterwards. But if you've got multiple, you could be IT support, or you could have, say, like a marketing director or something like that, or a content writer for you, and they're different type of, they're part of the same thing, but they're not the same role, if you know what I mean.
yeah,
Then
yeah.
that way you could look at do what content, what the content plan I would say is normally the most profitable. I don't know if it really works in recruitment, but if you've got one client that pays the most, we'd concentrate on getting that page up to date and those roles and
Yeah,
those pages all fancy, and then go to the ones that are not as profitable afterwards. But think about how we can link the IT support manager role to then the IT service desk roles, or the audit, the like the team leaders or something like that. Just concentrate on what sort of silos make what works well together, and then plan out the best one, and then obviously the littler ones afterwards. That, but you can link them together anyway. And then once
yeah,
we've got that, we can look at the traffic to the main one that links to the other ones, and then work on those and kind of just go from there. Basically, it's just kind of like a silo of information. But obviously, it depends if either we want us to do the content for you, or if you're going to do the content yourself. But I know a lot of people want the tone and the how it speaks and how the content on the pages is for it. So it kind of takes the longest, but it's obviously
yeah,
the most important. You need to have decent content on your website for Google to find it. And
yeah,
then once it's there, you want people to read it and to understand what it is and to
yeah.
digest it properly, really.
Yeah, I think that's definitely, you know, where the marketing team and the SEO agency really need to work in partnership when it comes to that, and to come up with those ideas of like what content are people going to be consuming. We've done quite a few webinars on like content ideas and generation, and like understanding your customer avatar.
Yeah,
And that's really key, isn't it, to kind of then develop, because it's so much more powerful if people are Googling, what salary am I going to get paid for this
yeah,
job? And then your salary guide comes up. It's a lot more powerful than kind of an Indeed, because it's answering a question almost like offline of
yeah,
that kind of pain point, or answering something, or that FAQ that you were talking about, like what's the next career step
yeah,
for a project manager, and then there's like a career ladder infographic that kind of clearly explains it, and they're seeing that from your business, that's a much stronger message in my eyes. And from like an SEO perspective, it will be easier to get higher up when you're kind of competing on those phrases rather than. And I think that's where like, because as marketeers we'll come up with like all of these ideas and we can kind of be creative, but that's where the SEO team can help really kind of hone in on like, look, these are the, you know, that's a lovely idea, but actually these are the phrases that people are searching for in your industry that relate to those customers. And so actually it can help kind of hone it down a little bit further to make sure that you're delivering what it is that they want and need, which will again help us kind of build that.
Exactly.
I think, sorry.
I said exactly that. So
my next question was around keyword research, but I feel like we've kind of touched on that already. Was there anything else that you wanted to add? I think we talked about you know, having kind of looking for phrases that are outside the typical job board phrases, and trying to think outside the box a little bit around like what your customers' pain points or frustrations or questions would be when they're searching. And we talked about like some of the free tools that are available, like the Google keywords, or others that are kind of available. I don't work for Google. Was there anything else on that you think's important to kind of share, or do you feel like you can say we've covered it?
We've basically covered it. But what I'd like to say when it comes to keyword research, what I like to do is we call it low hanging fruits. So as you said earlier about the IT, no, I'm going to change it. Content writer role or something. When you talk about content writer role, and you can say an FAQ about the content writer role, and you might see that as 10 or like 500 to 1,000 searches of what's the average salary of a content writer, then you can put an FAQ in that, you can answer that and get some content written, and I can say, right, Katie, I think we should target content writers salary, like make a page on it. You might think I don't think that's relevant or anything for you, but if you're getting say like to 500 to 1,000 searches a month for people just asking that, if you answer that question nicely, or I say nicely, if you answer it like correctly and you give it enough information, you've got infographics and stuff on that, Google will see that and eventually rank you up for that. So they might not come on to your website for content writer roles, but once they're on there, they might see, oh, actually you guys have got this role, you've got XYZ on there, because they've got that one bit of content, that the low hanging fruit, as we like to call it, get a lot of traffic onto the website, and from there, if everything's all working, they can get linked to other roles that they might be interested in and stuff like that for you. So it's keyword research is important. Make sure you look for keywords. There's nothing worse than having a website, getting it all done, and you've not thought about what you want to rank for, because then that's going to take a few months to get you there anyway. So if you're
because you have to go back and change the content.
And you've got to change the content, you got to make a different page and make sure the URL and everything's right. And then you're eventually ranked for that potentially 3 to 4 months afterwards. So before you know, it's nearly a year, and you've just started ranking for the keywords you wanted at the start, but you didn't say about it, sort of thing. So it's very important for that as well.
And one thing you just mentioned there was about getting the URLs right. How important is that from a SEO perspective?
It's very important, basically. So if your website's talking about, what did I say this time, content writing, and then the URL says marketing roles or something, Google will say, well, you're talking about content writer, but the page is going to marketing roles. Google might not know that content writing is part of like a marketing role. So you might have to put marketing roles and then content writer. So then Google sees all the information plus the URL together, then they know it's tallying up and it's correct for it.
So we should aim for that keyword within the URL itself as well.
Where you can, if you've got something in there, like I said, what is the salary for a content writer? You might not have what is the salary for a content writer URL to make it very long, but you might just have like content writer
content salary
or content salary, even that for you. Just try and get it in there a little bit. Don't make sure it's kind of relevant to what you're talking about. You don't want some URL that's completely different to what you're writing about. People won't like it.
Because it does contribute, you know, like if I'm searching for something on Google, and even like the website name it does make it depends on whether you're going to click through or not. There was a guy that I used to know, and he it was an ex-customer from years and years ago, an old agency, and this guy sold like millions of pounds worth of clocks each year, and his whole business was based on that he bought URLs that were like TikTok clocks or things like that, and he just used SEO very wisely, and but he said that his whole winning combination was just around having those URLs that people would want to click on, because it was really obvious what it did on the tin, like the Ronseal thing, isn't it? Yeah. And also, one of the things, like, I probably good to kind of dispel some myths and things. So years ago, I remember this, and this again is years ago, but BMW had their website taken down. I was working at Volkswagen at the time. They had their website taken down because they were using like a page mask where they basically had like all keywords over the front or lot of their website page. And I know obviously Google's kind of got wise to things like that now. But I do still see it. You'll still see at the footers of like some people's websites, like all the keywords listed out and stuff like that. Like, is that still a thing? Is it still something that people should do? Is it?
I think it's still a thing because a lot of people are still doing it. If it wasn't working at all, then everyone would remove it. But I know Google changes the goalposts every time you think you've got your website ready. The site audit's showing like 90 to 100%. Everything's all right. All the content, everything's perfect. Google will release an update in about a couple of months, and because of that, it drops the ranking because they've added. You need to make sure this is on there now. You need to make sure. I don't know if you know much about AI. Make sure not everything's like written by AI on there. It's got to be a little bit human. It's got to be this and that. It's just every time you get perfect, and that's why I say SEO is a marathon, not a sprint. You can get everything perfect in 1 week. Google releases an update 2 weeks later, and then you're back to square one again. You've got to look into what's wrong, what needs to be on there, this and that. So yeah, they used to be you could just cram the keyword in thousands of times. People would add it in white text, so you can't even see it on the website, and it was just they'd be ranking in about 2 weeks. But now you've got to actually put a bit of effort in. You can't just cheat the system. Google's it's everyone's friend, but if you're working in SEO, it's basically your enemy. It'll just add a rule in it, and everything you've done could be wiped away just like that. But you're always learning, and as I said, you've got to always go back and see what's working well, what's not working well. Take that content out or revisit it, rewrite it, and add some more information because what you wrote about then might have changed, and you've got to just add that in. So, like content writer, as an example, you could just say, like, for this role, you can't use AI, and then people say, "What is AI?" AI is artificial intelligence. You can use AI to help you write some stuff, blah 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 blah, and just add that on there. And because of that, Google might rank you straight to the top again because you're talking about up-to-date stuff. You're answering questions, you're going above and beyond, basically. So, some old content that you wrote before, you might have to just add a bit updated to 2024's rules, basically. And because of that, it might just change the ranking straight away. It's weird how Google works, but we try and keep up with it, and we try our best, and we obviously everything we know at the time.
Are there any other kind of big no-nos that you've seen that people have done or tried that have kind of worked against them?
I think myself is just, as I said before, everyone's getting more tech savvy. I don't know if you've gone onto someone's website and you read the text and you can just tell it's AI. Always some random words in there. You might see, like, I've seen one and it was like, let's have a gander at this, and you're like, that's not how someone would speak if that's their website and they're being professional. You wouldn't put the word gander in there. But I think once you read a lot of websites, people might notice now when you read stuff, you're like, it just doesn't sound human. It sounds robot. It sounds AI, and because of that, you might, if they're not even going to write their website and give you information, I'm not going to trust them. Really, it's just copied and pasted from AI onto their website, and then there you go. But Google's not said anything about it because obviously Google's implemented AI to a lot of things and it can help you. But I'm assuming down the line, if everyone just makes hundreds of websites using AI, they're eventually going to clamp down on it, unfortunately.
Some of the stuff I've read around that, like you say, like they've got their own sort of, it's not Bard anymore, is it? It's Gemini now, their AI tool. But that is like, they've been quite prescriptive about what it can do, and as opposed to chat, which you can kind of do anything on. That one is a little bit more like, if you try to say, write me some ideas around this, it's like, I can just conversate in this bit and I can't supply all of that stuff. You've got to give me the ideas. So they've definitely kind of taken a stance on that, of how they want or how they see it being used. And I've certainly heard things around like the search engines becoming more attuned to kind of like anything that is AI generated, and obviously duplication is a big thing. It marks you down, doesn't it, if your words and things are duplicated. And with AI as it stands now, if you put in the same search term as me, what our output will be is exactly the same. So duplication of wording, and and we've all seen it, like there's certain words, isn't there, like you just sort of mentioned, there's certain words that I see on people's LinkedIn posts and things that I'm like, oh, it's so obviously AI, which I have absolutely no problem. I use AI, I love it, but it is about adding that human element to it. And I think it's definitely like a framework tool that you can then kind of like develop your personal kind of added to it. Is there, so obviously AI, we all need to be really aware of that and make sure that we're not kind of duplicating words to other people's sites and things like that. No masking and just chucking a load of keywords in the thing. Obviously blogs and things are useful, and they'll help with like the SEO. And again, that will be really key, is working with your SEO partner from like a marketing perspective to kind of go, right, this is the kind of keywords that we're trying to think. And quite often you will find that some blogs are written for SEO rather than written for kind of content that you'd want to share. It will be adding to, and some of the landing pages will be adding to, attributing to that SEO perspective. And I think that as well can be a bit of a hard battle for some people, because if they're a marketeer and they're trying to develop this page around like SEO, quite often, like if the business owner might look and go, well, I don't understand why that is, because it's not really providing value, and so everybody has to buy in, I guess, is what I'm trying to get to, is that everybody needs to buy into that you're on this SEO journey and you're working towards kind of developing that strategy to be able to enable you to reach that kind of attainable Google listing and be on that front page to capture those people. And I know we have touched on it from a perspective of it being that journey and it being a longevity thing. And I think that's really key to kind of just touch on again, to say that it isn't an overnight success with SEO. It is ongoing. It is kind of ongoing maintenance of that. Is there anything else that you kind of wanted to kind of say on or contribute on maintenance ongoing? Anything else that people should be aware of?
No, exactly what you said earlier. It's not an overnight thing. It's a marathon, not a sprint. But with SEO compared to PPC, once you stop spending money with Google, that's it. You've gone. You're not on the website. You're not search for that keyword anymore. But with SEO, if you get yourself, you've worked for 6, 7, say like 9 months with a constant plan, and you get yourself onto the first page of Google. And I didn't say it earlier, actually, on Google, as I said, not many people scroll past the Google ads. There was a research done, I think it was the end of 2023, and I think even if you're first on Google ads, you only get 4% of the traffic. But if you're first organically, you get up to 40% of it. So if you're 4% of 1,000 and you're paying £4,000 a month for it or whatever, and then you've done SEO and you've eventually got to the first page, you're getting 40% of 1,000 is 400. So you're getting a lot more traffic organic through it. So it's once you're there, and it's so hard to be knocked off of the first spot on Google unless you've done something bad or something, or the website goes down or whatever. Once you're there, depending on how competitive like the niches or the market, you could be there for years, and you only done 7 to 8 months of an SEO campaign, and you've stopped and you've not paid for it. And then from there, it's just snowballed, or you've changed some old content and constantly get more people going through there, and you can just be stay for #1 for ages. So that's the only thing I say with SEO. You go back and look at what worked well, what didn't work so well. And then once you're there, that's it. You can stop spending money, and you can leave it for 6, 12, or maybe like 18 months. And then if someone else started a strong campaign and they've started doing it, you might get knocked off the top spot. But once you're there, it's almost impossible to go. It's a snowball effect. It constantly just gets bigger and bigger with SEO, and it's the beauty of SEO basically.
Yeah, and I think one thing that you should say there, Aaron, is obviously you've finished that campaign and you invest that budget into the next SEO campaign.
It's always
not just stop.
once you've got your IT support managers and I'm you can then go on something else. concentrate on that one first.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
the way it works.
Cool. Right, just before we move on to the Q&A, just want to let me just share this screen quickly. I'm just going to give people a chance to add questions to the Q&A while we just quickly touch on these bits. So JP Diaries, obviously we've covered today, and the next webinar is going to be about motivating consultants to use social media, and the one after that is about data intelligence and how to harness that to motivate consultants in terms of marketing internally. Then we're going to be touching on email deliverability, and then changing the mindset for consultants around that should be marketing. So I've got some really great speakers all lined up for those as well, so I'm super excited. Places where I will be, the next one is the 24th of this month. There is the RDLC marketing event, and then Rexcape in June. And then I always feel like I shouldn't do this, but shameless plug, just to say, if anybody needs any help with their marketing in terms of strategy, mentoring, marketing people that you might have in-house, whether they be junior, senior, or someone to sit at board level, fractional marketing director strategy, we offer. We offer a one-to-one consultation, and you can book that. It will be included in the link that goes around in the email with the video following today's webinar. And then I know, Aaron, you wanted to also make an offer of a free site audit to anybody who's taken part in today. So what I will do when I send round the webinar video is I'll include in there, will it be like a link that people can book it, or is it just your contact details?
Yeah, you can just send me an email. If you've got more than one website, we can go on and do a couple of site audits, or I can have a look and say, I'd suggest you do this one because of X, Y, Z. And then from there, I can do a site audit for and send it over. And then obviously, if, as I said, you can get sent let me try that again. You can be sent a site audit, but if you don't know what to do, then obviously you can get in touch and we can help you get everything set up and obviously ready for your website for you.
Amazing. Right, I'll close that, and then we'll go to the Q&A. We've got quite a few questions there, so let's start. What's your thoughts about competitors using the same keyword, but one has more budget than the other? What's the impact on ranking?
Oh, give me 1 second. Oh, there we go, Joshua. What your thoughts are better. So what we do say with SEO, for every campaign that we do, there is a part of it I forgot to mention called competitor analysis. So if you're trying to compete against, say, like Reed or Indeed, and you're looking at how they're ranking so well for all these keywords, what you can do is go through their backlinks. And what backlinks is like where they've gone and got a guest post, or they've made comments, or they're answering blogs and stuff on there. There's no point trying to reinvent the wheel. We clearly know that Reed's doing well and they're ranking for it. So wherever they're going to, obviously Google trusts it. So for you to go and get a guest post or to comment on that sort of blog would help for it. Obviously, as there's more budget, we normally say if people are spending more money for more keywords, it's going to be hard for me. Say if we had a £400 a month budget, I can't try and rank all these keywords with this little budget because they've obviously got a much bigger budget for it. But we make sure we pick a keyword that's getting a lot of searches for you, and or as we said, the low sort of hanging fruits, and we target that first. Once you see some sort of traffic from that, then we can look at the other sort of keywords for it. But it's always try and pick on the low hanging fruits is what I would say. Once you get some sort of traffic, once people land on it and trust you, you might get some free clicks in other areas on it, but always try click on like the best sort of keyword for you first is what I would say.
Yeah, and I think like what we talked about, it's thinking outside the box, because realistically we shouldn't be going up against like the Indeeds or you know, in terms of keywords, so we shouldn't really find ourselves in that situation. It is looking at like other ideas of how you can kind of build, isn't it? So making sure that you use your budget effectively. Looking for keywords, which should we focus on? Search volume or competition, or should we be looking at them both? What's the standard ratio?
So as I said earlier about the competitiveness of stuff, so if you see a keyword that's low competitive, because there's some tools that say how low it is, but I think they judge that on Google Ads. If a lot of people are not paying for that click, then there might be less of a competitiveness of it. So if you look a keyword of what's the average salary for a content writer, and that gets 1,000 searches a month, and it's not that competitiveness, it could be a keyword for you to target for. And then, as I said, once you get people to land it on your site, if they see in there you've got links to like IT roles, I keep going back to IT.
That's right.
Content writers to like marketing roles or a marketing manager or SEO roles, and from
Yeah.
there, you click on that for you, you're getting free traffic from that low hanging fruit basically for it. So try not concentrate too much on competitiveness, or if you are got quite a bigger budget and you want to be quite competitive, then obviously you can target some of the harder ones, but go for the easier ones first, get yourself some traffic and some clicks, and then target the harder ones first, because that's the best way is what I would advise to do for that.
Yeah. Okay, is it advisable to invest in conducting an SEO strategy for other search engines, i.e. Bing, Mozilla, etc.?
I would say no. I know everyone goes onto Google basically. I know a lot of people don't even know there's a thing called Bing and Firefox and stuff like that. I know a lot of people know Safari because of like iPhones and stuff, but everyone normally just goes straight to Google. So you could be paying money to go to Bing, but not many people go onto it, unfortunately. But when you concentrate on your website, it can be picked up on Bing. So you might get some free traffic from there, but majority of the traffic, 60% of it, I think it is really is come straight from Google. So it'd be best to just look at how it's performing on Google for it.
Yeah. Okay. Margaret had put, can you talk about the link building? I was just going to say, Margaret, could you give us a bit more context to that? In terms of, I think Aaron's covered sort of how you would, or people that you would look and how they undertake it to find people, in terms of how they would do link building, but was there something specific? So we'll come back to that one, Aaron. Julie's written, is it worth using dark data analytics to help improve your SEO strategy?
I'll be honest, I've not heard of dark data.
No, me neither.
I don't know if that's a new name for it or something's changed or something, but if you want to let me know what that is, Julie, I can try answer it. Or if not, look into it and then give you an answer for it. If you give out like people's details, Julie, Julie, and then I can answer Julie's question for it.
Yeah, that's fine. And Kathy has written, as you said, there are so many keyword tools out there. Which one, she's basically asking, which tool would you recommend? Is there one particular one that you would say is an easy one to start with?
I use the Google search, as you said, like what Google provides. And there's one that I use. Give me 1 second. I forgot the name of it. It's called WordStream.
Yeah.
That's quite a good one. And that, as what was his name? Sorry, was it Joshua said earlier? It tells you the difficulty. So it'll say how many searches it gets a month. But just take it with a grain of salt. If it says 1,000, it could potentially be like 600 to 700, and depending obviously when that was done for it. But try use a few, and if they're kind of like one says 600, one says 1,000, one says 800, you kind of know it's in that sort of ballpark for it. I wouldn't just stick with one website unless you're paying for it. If you pay for one like Ahrefs, like the one of the big ones, they're quite good. But obviously you have to pay for it to get that sort of results for it. But just look at a few of the free ones and you can kind of make a judgment of where it is. But we would obviously advise we'd do that for you and give you advice on what we think would work well, what kind of searches it gets for it. I sent you that sort of, do you remember that calculator I gave you, Katie, that I think will get searches? So I could do something like that. Or if someone wanted us to do keyword research as well as a site audit, we could send that over to you just to let you kind of know what we'd suggest and what we think would do quite well for it.
Nice, thank you. And then I'm just gonna, one last one. And Aaron, I'm asking this question, but I'm not 100% because I know your SEO, and it is slightly more. Where's the question gone now? Oh, it's from Joshua. Here it is. No. Hang on. Oh, besides SEO content, what more do we need to be looking at on a website, e.g. loading speed, image compression, etc.?
Yeah, so that's a big thing, loading speed and the image compression. As tools you can use, I think there is quite a few tools. If you use Squarespace is quite good. That gives you quite compressed images for you to free to use for the website. But loading speed is a big thing. Everyone's quite impatient nowadays and everyone's quite lazy. If I click on the link and it doesn't load up straight away, I'm closing it and going to the next one. If that loads up quicker, I automatically think it's a better website. But that's everything's on that as part of the site audit. So it would go through and say, right, these pages are not performing well, and look and say, right, these pictures are XYZ size, so maybe compress it down and it would load quicker. On mobile and on laptop, it depends on obviously the device you're using. But there's a lot of things we've got to factor in with the on-site of SEO. It's kind of, it could be anything. The list could be to be endless. Basically, once you get, like I said, once you get up to date and the websites are all finished, everything's loading well, the pictures are fine, all the meta tags are on there. Google could change something and just say, right, you need to make sure, I don't know if you've seen that new VR headset, you might have to make sure everyone's websites are compatible for that going forward. And it's another set of goalposts we've got to do. So it could change week after week, but just try your best as you can. Maybe do like a monthly site audit to see from month to month what's happened, what's changed, everything all okay. But
Yeah,
there's a lot of things to factor in for it, unfortunately, and it's going.
Yeah, I know. Right, so we've actually like 2 minutes away from running out of time, Aaron. I've really enjoyed. Thank you so much for coming on and let me pick your brains. As I said, I'll share Aaron's details for himself personally and the GSD agency. And the free site audit, it will have his details in the email that comes out after this. So if people want to follow up and get that free site audit, then they can do. I definitely would recommend it. I've had it done on quite a few of the sites that we work with, people that we work with, and it's been really insightful and helpful. And yeah, and thank you again for coming on and letting me pick your brains.
It's okay, no problem. And as I said earlier, if anyone's got any questions, send it over to Katie and I'll feel free to answer it as best as I can. I might look into what dark data and analytics is at the minute.
Yeah, I've not heard of that. I'm intrigued.
But
all right, thanks guys, and hopefully we'll see you at the next webinar in a couple of weeks. Thanks guys.
Everyone.
Thanks Aaron. Bye.